Hello, welcome to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. And there is so much on my mind. Um, I'm taking a break from my meditation. Excuse me. And I realize, you know, wouldn't it be nice to just meditate every day, all the time? And sometimes you have to come up for air. So learn to relax and create balance. Balance is something I never really understood because I didn't value it. I was just like, let's go intense. Let's just have the full, let's just intensely do whatever it is that we're doing and till we're done and then move on. Now I'm starting to understand balance. It's like intensity is pretty cool and it can kind of open doors. You can have some cool experiences. But overall balance can you can enjoy the journey. You can get more out of it over time because you're balancing. So things that are on my mind. Twin flames, relationships, you know, and how to manifest and and then kind of looking at the end game going, what's the point? It's so easy to forget. There's a paradox. Everything has meaning, everything doesn't have meaning. There's value and there's no value at all at the same time. It's that, to me, is more of the cosmic joke because it has so much value and at the same time has no value, you know? So these are the type of things that are on my mind right now. Why do we live in stories? I think people are creating stories to create meaning in their life. And they're trying to justify their feelings, justify their thoughts, their behavior, their action, why they do what they do, why they love who they love, why, you know, I'm, and I feel like everyone's just selling stories. It's almost like I look out and all I see is horrible people. They're horrible because they're human, just like you and me. Yet they set themselves up as professionals, as life coaches, as authority figures, self made authority figures. And and then they go try to help people. It is truly the blind leading the blind. And I think they hook everyone with stories of soulmates, twin flames, ascension, spiritual knowledge, you name it. But it just, the more clear I get within myself, the more I sit with myself, the more I practice self love, uh, and awareness, paying attention, really starting to look at the world, the more I see everyone is just 5-year-olds and they're all in a sandbox playing make believe. And they get wrapped up into their game. They're playing, I'm a doctor and you're going to be my patient. And, and we're going to act like adults. And everyone's just been acting and acting and acting. And if you don't understand that adults have just become actors, so you go to school, you learn the script to become an actor, and then you replace them. And we always feel inadequate. So now we're going to kind of go into maybe feeling like a fraud, maybe feeling inadequate in your career, in your life as a parent, whatever it is, whatever you're doing, is because when you were a kid, your parents were acting. Everyone was acting. And when you finally get into these powerful positions of authority, you find out you are the real thing, but there has to be a time when you give up the script and become authentic. This spirituality is your connection with life. your connection with yourself and the development. So I feel like the true path is geared towards, your experience, your connection. And that's a relationship you're building, and it takes a lifetime. It should take you a good 40 years to say, you know what? I mean, yes, you've always had a connection with yourself, and you ever will, but it's ever deepening, ever revealing, ever unfolding within you. So it's kind of a huge disservice to try to get someone to subscribe to your truth, to your reality, to your myth, to your story, to your definitions. And I feel like a lot of people are searching, you know? And there's so many people who drink the punch. There's so many people who live in a story, who buy themselves a story and sell a story. And if I can get you to believe my story, well, then I'll finally believe myself, is kind of what I'm seeing out there. And so it's blind, it's empty. They're false teachers, false prophets, false friends, false everything. Like everyone's just a freaking actor. And like, when do we look at ourselves in the mirror? And you can't, and there has to be, so there's that surface mirror level where I think lowlifes will just bash you with it. The old saying, you see it, you got it. Yeah, but once you go deeper and deeper and deeper than yourself, you're looking at deeper and deeper levels to the point where there is no mirror. You know, you're, I mean, I can't really explain it all at this point. But let's go to the answer to all of our problems. Whether it's your special person, in a runner chaser dynamic, soulmate, twin flame, whatever your problem is, the path is one and the same, and it's center. You can't really center yourself unless you're grounded. You can't really ground, like, certain things kind of have to come together, and you have to be good at bringing them together at the same time or in the right time. You can stack these things together. Like for me, I stack let's get grounded, which will throw me on my center. And when I'm thrown on my center, I find my alignment with myself and the energy, and I start moving vertically. And so that is the essence of meditation, alignment, the setup. So we say things in the spiritual world like align or frequency or energy or vibe. And that's kind of spiritually bypassing. So, everyone's saying, oh, if you really understand frequency, oh, it's all frequency. Like all these Aquarians are like, oh, frequency, frequency. And I'm like, you want to understand frequency? Start saying it's your state of awareness, your state of consciousness. So then it just like all made sense. I'm like, oh, you're totally using the wrong word for me. Like for you, frequency, you get it. You go when you're saying state of mind, state of consciousness, state of being, and all within that state or plane of existence is there for you. So the reason why you're not with your SP is because you're not in the right state of mind. Law of attraction simplified. Bam. So how do you get into that right state of mind? Align, center, become present, be it. So be to have, this simple formula that's been peddled on humanity since probably the 20s. I am that, probably been peddled on everyone also. So these very simple concepts are universal. I am that, be that I am, is basically saying what you have done or what you will want to do is be that which you wish to experience. You either have to be that experience, vibrating at that state, conjure those emotions, feelings, thoughts, imagines, fantasies. So that would be kind of like an inner mental gymnastics, emotional gymnastics to arrive at that place. But you can also just fall into that place. You can do it the Taoist way, like let go. Let go of everything you're not, so everything you are will suddenly illuminate and have room to breathe. You'll be broadcasting the right signals and attracting the right experiences. So, it seems like all magical systems and everything is magic has a how does the universe work model. So, a religious person's going to say it's God slash karma, really. A scientist is going to say it's all energy, you know, and some quantum physics thrown in there. Mathematical, geometrical, and that is the nature and structure of our universe. That's the language of God, or that's the language that everything responds to. That is truth. So it doesn't matter what model you use, but there's no reason why you have to believe in it. Just pick one. In a weird way, it's a story, anyways. But you can get something out of it, and you can practice it. Now, let's move on to something really more important in this dilapidated spiritual uh, experience that we're kind of all on. Is my biggest thing that I was thinking about yesterday was discipline and the joy of work and the joy of discipline. And so love is used as spiritual bypassing. The name of God or Jesus is used as spiritual bypassing. Um, I would say almost everything is used as a spiritual bypass. I mean, the nature of spirituality in New Age communities is spiritual bypassing, period. You can just call New Age spirituality is the art of using spirituality to bypass any discipline, any real practice. And once again, we're all actors faking it, creating the illusion, creating a facade. It's a mask. And then it's all empty once again. It's a one dimensional experience. You may look the part, you may act the part, but you're not it. You haven't allowed yourself to become it. You're not truly the psychic. You've given that power to the cards. You've given that power to meaning, stories, and definitions. You're not really the yoga instructor. You've got education from someone else. You're teaching people who don't know anything. And you're just regurgitating everything that we already know. So you're following a script. So, chaonics, how do you get there? You have to become it. You have to become the yoga. What is yoga? It's union. Basically, it's to bind, it's to bring two things together, it's fusion. Man and spirit, man and his breath. What is meditation? Same thing. All is one. To truly meditate, your breath and your body become one. Your breath and your mind and your body become one. It's really that simple. So simple. How do you manifest? You become one with it. How do you become spiritual? You become one with spirit. How do you know yourself? You become one with yourself. You must become one with the mystery. And it's all one and the same because yoga was moving meditation. So become one with life to master it. And we're starting with this assumption that you're not already one. But if that's where we need to start, that is okay. Because we're probably also bent out of alignment. that it would probably be a good idea to start off with the assumption. And this assumption, I believe, should start probably after you've graduated from college. So I would say your late 20s is when you'd want to assume that. And I say this because you haven't been completely bent out of shape. Kids are still so open and free and thoughtful and creative. That oneness is still there. It's not completely bent and broken, you know. Uh, so you don't need to have advanced mysteries. You don't need to have initiations. You don't need to have cord cuttings. You don't need to have all this. You don't need to have other people working on you once you know how to work on yourself. You don't need someone's counsel once you accept inner counsel. And that happens through building that relationship with yourself. The most basic, simple way was to sit, relax, breathe, and just be. And, and fall into yourself. And pretty soon you're in samadhi, you're in deep meditation. So you're just being absorbed into the infinite you. You may not know that you're infinite. You may not know that you're the whole universe. But you will find out the more you relate to yourself. The biggest hindrance on your journey is thinking, using your brain to do things, to put itself in positions it doesn't need to be. Your brain doesn't need to get involved so much. So this is where the balance comes in. Because the mind will be like, ooh, what a cool problem to solve, and I can think about it, and ooh, I understand it. These mental gymnastics I do all the time. I love to investigate into occult subjects, and I've gained a lot of entertainment through it. But when it's all said and done, I can put my brain aside and now receive something higher, something greater, something deeper, something more profound, because it has to come. So your thinking, I'm going to say, is like a state of it's a state. Imagine, or it's a level. So level 5, the elevator doors open up, and it's a wonderful realm of thinking thoughts. There's all these voices telling you truths, or mathematical things. And, let's say level 6 it's all visual. It's the same truth, but now you're seeing it as sacred geometry and fractals and whatever, and then you go to level 7 and it's all just colors, different, just a spectrum of colors, so different levels, different senses. And then there's a point where you're like, okay, that's cool, but all I will get from each of these levels is those levels. I need to go all the way up to the top. Get out of the penthouse. It's nice. It's beautiful. It's divine bliss. But I need to go into the unknown. And so I can't take these familiar emotions, these familiar thoughts, these stories, all that I know. I maybe not even be able to take my body with me on this journey, So I found it fast asleep on the bed while I astral projected. Can't take my family. I can't take all my reference points. All this that I hold is reality. And I need to go into the unknown. And obviously, you can acquire knowledge without a brain, without a mind. So you kind of have to do that. And you can go out or you can go in. The fastest way to get to this knowledge is to go into yourself. That would be the fastest route. Go in. If life is just a projection, go to the source, you know, which is you. So let's kind of wrap this up. We're at the 20-minute mark. So, how do you stop obsessing about your SP? Start investing in yourself. Put all that energy back into you, and you naturally attract and become the magnet. But you have to do that anyways for meditation. You have to sit on your center. You have to be absorbed into your center. You have to deepen your center. You have to strengthen your center. So that's why you actually follow your breath. Your breath guides you back to your center. And there's at your center is where it all happens, where this alchemy happens of mind-body connection, mixing, balancing, and connecting. So the art of detachment is where I think people get hung up. But that naturally happens because if you start valuing your center and your sense of being, which is still being centered, rooted in you, is how you acquire a sense of being. So it's going to take practice, it's going to take discipline, but we usually think, oh, that sounds hard, but that's actually very fun. It's actually very rewarding and exciting. It's a different kind of excitement. It's not like a dopamine excitement. It's not an excitement of you actively going out and manipulating the outer world. It's a different kind. It's a revelation. Things are revealed. Nuances, layers, levels, moments that just, once you become aware of something, it's opened up a whole new world to you. It's like let the bird out of the window. It's free. Once it's discovered the open window and it's gone, it can come and go now as it pleases. It can go back to its cage in the house. It knows where its home is, but it can also fly out and go explore the world. So, inner and outer worlds. So, you can, every time you're thinking, oh, let's detach, we usually think cut off, It seems to be an aggressive action to try to win back personal power in relationship dynamics. Ego. I need to detach. I need to ghost them. I need to do no contact for 30 days. They're taking me for granted. I need to, that's all ego reasoning. Put your brain aside and go, okay. The reality of it all is I need to find balance. There has to be, I have to give and take. I have to reach out into the outer world, but then I need to bring it all back in to center. So when you learn to center, you don't need a shaman to cord cut you. You don't need a spiritual person because you're reversing your energy. All this outward gets reversed and it all comes in. Every question, so how do psychics get that information? They've just reversed the energy, The information that's coming to you, that's being blocked because you're reaching out in fear, in story, in whatever, in all your obsession, in all your reaching, in all your grasping, in all your clinging, in all your effort, in all your desire, you don't realize you're flipping the mirror and you're not looking. You can't see. But the psychic's not in that position. So they can just receive that information and tell you. It's just a reversal of mirrors. Life is smoke and mirrors. So smoke and mirror for yourself. Go, my 5 senses deceive me. This outer experience of my present moment is actually the past, where I don't even need to think about it. And I kind of ignore it, but not ignore it. I just let it be, But what I'm really most focused on is my personal center, my breath, my body. Move in to you, and your energy and your vitality comes back. You're not angry anymore, and you start to feel love. And when you're not angry and you start and you're feeling all this love, then the energy wants to go into creative expression. And then you start radiating love, radiating happiness and joy. So you could, and so you naturally attract. I mean, that's one level of attraction. The other level is you're just bringing yourself, all your energy, all your broken parts and pieces back to you. Memories, strong memories, is pieces of your soul trapped in time, trapped in frames, trapped in images. So you don't need a soul retrieval of a mystical journey of someone going through dimensions, shaking a rattle and beating a drum. You just sit there and breathe and let all your memories come back. Gain what you have to gain from them and absorb the energy back to source. So it's like you're like the Big Bang. You like explode and you create all this life and all these experiences, and then it all implodes and all comes back to you, comes back to center. And as all this energy is coming forth back to you, you gain energy, life, power. But then as you explode in all this expression, we kind of have life a little backwards, and both are true. We see a flower sprout, grows and explodes into into bloom, and we go, wow, look at that life, look at that vitality. We see a child growing up to adulthood, and we see the explosion of life expression. That's the outer explosion. But the inner implosion vitalizes you, recharges you, and rebirths you. So both directions are life-giving. So that's why meditation is more of a receiving, and enlightenment is a receiving, and you're receiving all of yourself back. All of yourself and all of yourself. The whole universe is so simple. Meditation is being receptive. So that's like filling up your cup. And so detachment is, I'm going to fill up my cup now. I'm going to ground. I'm going to center. I'm going to align. I'm going to open up my heart. I'm going to open up my mind. So I'm obviously going to set my thinking aside and set lower emotions or emotions altogether aside and be in a state of receiving this openness. And everything, so you're seeking the fulfillment. Everything you push out into the world and is reflected back to you, you're like, I want it, I need it, or that's what love is, or that's what beauty is. That was all just your energy. But we're so busy projecting it out, we get tired. Then we look at ourselves and say, I'm not beautiful, or I don't have energy, or I'm not rich, or I'm not successful. And I'm like, that's because you haven't let yourself become the receiver. Receive all this energy that you projected out back. And you can receive it back through your 5 senses. Back into your eyes, back into your ears, back into your nose, back into your mouth. So as much as you do, you should just be. Receive it all back. Become the center of the universe and receive it all back. And then shine again. Let yourself cycle. Rhythm, flow, be. Pretty soon you find yourself complete, a sense of completion and fulfillment. You're completely detached now, and there's no negative struggle or force. There's no war, there's no conflict, there's no story, there's no bitterness. You're like, I am full. My aura is full, my body is full, I feel healthy, I feel vitality. I've given myself the best service. I've learned to give myself love by being a receiver. So all these beautiful people out there that I admire and value and wish to be in relationship with, because I've learned to give to myself, I don't need it. I'm not clinging. I'm not grasping it. My world isn't devastated. I'm not obsessing. I'm not compulsive about it. My security isn't lost. My sense of identity isn't shaken because I am it. I am that I am. All that I ever need. So now you're listening to, now you're interacting with people in a different way because you got your crown on. And because you've mastered the art of grounding and centering, you're sitting on your throne as the emperor. That will be the lesson of the emperor in the tarot. Yeah, who knew all this had to do with the emperor card? You know, the emperor is the king of kings. He has a throne, he sits on it. He has a crown, it's on his head. He is centered. His throne is square or cubed, representing earth. You know, the crown is obviously a ring or round, representing heaven. By heaven and earth, he is united. He is a representative, an incarnation of yoga. He is the evolved version of the chariot card. You know, he is basically the emperor's as the emperor. Lord of Lords. Lord means father. So he is the father. You could pretty much say God has come down and now reigns over kingdoms, reigns over the whole, world. So that's what the pharaohs were. They were embodiments, incarnations, direct descendants of deities. So the emperor is a direct descendant of the deity with the great crown. And with that strength of crown, he balances that by the earth, by his throne. So no throne, no crown, no emperor. You have to have both. So Raja Yoga is basically the yoga or meditational practice for the kings, for the royal ones. So that's what Raja Yoga is. When you're sitting, you are seated on your throne. You are poised. So there's self-confidence. It all happens through discipline. So learning to sit, learning to be open, these internal practices, very simple, make you a lord of lords, a king, you know. It aligns you. It aligns your chakras. It brings all that you need to you. You become a very